A couple of seconds. It's the Thursday night edition Orange and Blue Blood show. I'm Buddy Martin. This program is heard 4 times weekly. Tonight we focus mostly on you, the fan, and what you want to talk about. Things pertain to you and things that are important to you. Ben Troop will be along shortly from his battle station in Savannah, Georgia. And then we've got Iron Duke, Fran Spears, and of course Lauren Meadows, the coach. So we have a lot to talk about tonight. What in the world is going on with the coaching staff of Billy Napier? I'm just saying. One of the wackiest weeks, days, I don't know, stuff happening. So we're going to try to put some sense behind it and see what happens. Get your thoughts as well. Stand by, the Buddy Martin Show. The Orange and Blue Bloods Thursday is about to be on the show.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye!
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Orange Blue Blood Thursday. And you look at me and say, why is he dressed that way? I'll tell you about it later, okay? Just not to be cantankerous, but just have a reason. I want to share my thoughts with you tonight and see what your thoughts are. My word, what a bunch of changes in the coaching staff in Gainesville. Are you surprised? Are you shocked? I mean, I'm a little shocked that this many coaches, counting 3 and probably going to be 4, are leaving this rapidly before the spring practice. Now, I don't know all the backroom stuff, what's going on with this is just weird, okay? I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand it. Maybe you can help me. But with what's happening, if you haven't heard, surely you have heard, that the last 36 hours or so, the resignations of the defensive coordinator, tight end, and wide receiver coach have come about. We haven't gotten an official word or announcement of who's going to take their place. A pretty good idea of a young man who's going to be the defensive coordinator who I'd never heard of. Doesn't mean it's not good. I mean, had you heard of Austin Armstrong? I don't think so. He was a 29-year-old defensive coordinator, the youngest in the country last year at Southern Miss. He was in Tuscaloosa, about to be added to the staff of Nick Saban. That's good stuff. And then gets a phone call from Billy Napier, and he's out of there and coming to be the defensive coordinator. Wow. Okay. You can look at that 2 different ways. We talked about it with David Bolton last night. He has some very good points. And I'm not saying it's a terrible thing. I'm just saying it's a lot. And I am still reading from, just because I'm writing a column about it. Tried to have a little fun with it, because when you don't understand something, all you can do is try to poke fun at yourself or whatever. But I mean, it's like, well, here's the deal. I said, I'd like to be able to say goodbye to people leaving up there in Gainesville, but I haven't got to say hello to them. They were hardly here. We hardly knew them. So we will talk about that tonight with our 3 loyalists. Don't get any more loyal than these guys. Ben Troop will be here in a bit. Fran Spears will be along, and Lauren Meadows, and we'll talk about this. You can look at it 2 ways, and this is what I wrote about. On one hand, I mean, on the Feinbaum show, frankly, Feinbaum said basically what the hell's going on in Gainesville, and and trying to figure out what happened. Well, there's a lot going on here. Number one, it's a transitional business right now. And as I call it, rent a coach, and there's deals everywhere being made, and boom, boom, boom. Just like the athletes who got the NIL deals, these coaching jobs are popping open everywhere. And think about it. This is one of the things that David Moulton said. I'll get into it. If before you start criticizing Billy Napier because he can't keep his coaches, how about the fact that they jumped in? The NFL has jumped in now and gotten 3 of his coaches, just like that. There's the offensive coordinator, his wide receiver coach, and his tight end coach. So we'll talk about that, and I'll get your takes on it. Some of you are already commenting. Love that you speak your mind here on this show. I'll just say good evening to a couple of you now. Eric Newton gets the pole position. My goodness, Eric Newton up early tonight. Robert Turner, how are you? Larry Gross. I agree, Larry, and then Robert Turner again. AJ Rowe, howdy, where you been, brother? Let's see. Dan Bond, my man Dan Bond, who's got a nice story up there tonight on Gator Bait. By the way, new issue of Gator Bait is coming out tonight. Some of the stories are posted. If you're not a member, you need to check it out. It's really got good stuff in it. It'll keep you informed about what's going on. We got new members every week, and from all over the place, by the way. And so Dan Bond's got a nice story on Trinity Thomas's last meet tomorrow night against Kentucky. I couldn't believe the record, by the way, of Florida. Hey, you have any idea what Florida's record is against Kentucky in gymnastics? I'm going to leave that open for a second. I'm not lowering, I'm not going to give you any prizes, but it's amazing. I don't know of any competition that's been in place this long that could be anywhere near this lopsided. So the chances are pretty good that Trinity could go out a winner tomorrow night against this Kentucky team. Forget what I mean. So let's see here. Well, let's see here. Isaac S. I don't think I know you, Isaac. Nice to see you. Colbert is going to coach the Denver Broncos. Wide receiver. That's not been 100% confirmed, but it's going to happen. And so Gene McClain from Tallahassee, nice to see you. Gordon Wheeler, I hope I said that right. Johnny Casey, very worried about this team going forward. Well, you know what? A lot of us are, because we don't know what to think. We just don't know what to think. And then on and on. Good conversation by our guys tonight among each other. We'll share it with you in a little bit. All right, let's do this. Let's step aside. Let's get a sponsorship in, come back, and we should be hearing from Ben Troop. I want to hear what his take is on this, and I'll tell you why I'm dressed like this tonight, okay? And it has something to do with some of the things happening in Gainesville. Maybe. I don't know. You decide. All right? Thank our sponsors for joining this program and sponsoring, and that would be among them TitanMRI.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
All right, thank you very much. And let's hear from other sponsors tonight. That'd be Meldon Law.
Jeffrey, what are you doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
All right, thanks very much. I'm checking to see if Ben got the link. You know, Ben has to have a link. All right, so let's get to the colors first and talk about it. There's a big thing missing in sports today, and as I went through all this stuff with what's happening, why these coaches leaving. The game has changed, yes, all that stuff. I'm searching for something that might be missing. And I know I'm not going to sit here and be a get off my lawn kind of guy, because all you know, I love college football, and I know it's changing, and I know there's going to be more changes in the wind. So we're going to have to kind of accept most of it because we have no choice if we want to follow college football. But everything, of course, has changed. And there's certain things that we kind of hold sacred, right? Certain rivalries, certain things. And I've got it written down on a piece of paper here. The word that I think is, and it's nobody's fault, it's just how it is, that this has happened. There's a key missing element. And I don't know how to put it back in. I don't know how to put the genie back in the bottle. I really don't. But there are some things that are, and here's some answers. Larry goes to the cable companies. Yeah, so okay, Ben doesn't have their link. Okay, there's nothing new. All right, so I'm going to just leave it open to you. I'll let you guys talk among yourselves for a second and figure out what is missing from college. Specifically, it's a value, right? We have to have some values, and what are they, and where do we get them from? And you know, our forefathers handed them down to us. But hey, I'm going to say this too: you can't run everything on sports on yesterday. All right, as much as we'd like for it to be like it used to be, it really is not. And so, how do we transition into the new era and the new stuff? And you do it by accepting. Hold 1 second. I got to take care of Ben. Ben, it's the same every week, brother. It's the same every week. All right. Let's see if he gets this or not. No, I'm not going to get that one. All right. Hold on a second. Anyway, let me get back to this. I'll get to you, Ben. The thing I want to say is that there's a missing element. I'm going to hold this up for you for a good 30 seconds. You know those things you get when you go on the line and you try to, they tell you get this number and take it down and copy it and cut and paste it, and you can never read it? How frustrating that is? Yeah, well, that's it. That's kind of what this looks like to you. But to keep the mystery in it for just a second, I think it's really important that you look at this. Take a look at this. Just see if you can read it. All right. See if you can read that word. All right. I'm gonna hold there for about 15 seconds if I can, and see if we can do it. All right. Can you make any sense out of that? Type it if you can. All right. And that's what's missing. It's written about like that stuff you get online, isn't it? For sure. And this is what I think we lack. And you can say all you want to about how the game has changed and what's important and who's the standard bearer and why we should whatever. It's all truthful. I get it. And all good. But this is really it right here. Have you figured out the word yet? Mm-hmm. Well, that's it. That's the word. It's loyalty. Loyalty is the key right there. Let me see, Ben. Text me your email address. Ben's email has changed. It's changed. And when you go on to start sending it, it goes back to the old email. And then when I send him the link again every week, although it's the same, he didn't get it. Okay, we'll work on that. So there's the deal. And let's see what some of you people said. Thanks for being patient. You got it, Ron. I see Ron got it. Okay. Here's some good guesses in here. All good. AJ Rowe may have been the first to get it. He may have been the first to get it. And And so the order held up as we bring in our lost partner in crime here. We finally found this. I'm going to send you this for your wall so you can paste it, cut and paste it, and put it there on your computer. And it's the same every week. So I don't have to go looking. I got the old email address, but when I go to get to Ben Troop, I can't get him. I can't get through to the new one. So I'll say good evening to you, Ben. How you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. Always glad to be on with you, sir. Listen, I'm not for the technology's not going to stop me. And technology has tried to stop me before. Not doing it. I am my father's child, but I'm getting more technologically literate every day. So
well, it's not really a big thing. It's my fault because rather than bore the listeners and we're all waiting for you to comment on a couple of things about it, it's just simply your old email address doesn't work. And everything bounces. I don't know that. I'm too stupid to figure it out. And then I go to get your new email address, and I've got it. But I can't, when I go on the email to send it, it's not there. I got to go find it again, which is in your text. And anyway, so maybe I just start texting it to you. You can figure it out from there.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Make it happen.
I waited to explain this. I held this word up a minute ago, and A.J. Rowe got it right away. I don't know if you can see this or not, but can you read that?
Loyalty, yes.
Okay, so that's written like one of those words when you go on the line and you try to figure out, they say, take this keyword and put it in, and you can't hardly see it, but you get. So I said earlier tonight, we're talking about all the change in football. And you and I understand the change, and we've talked about on this show ad nauseum about it, but we understand there's different situations. We're willing to roll with that punch. But stuff's happening now that I just can't figure it out. Like this week in Gainesville, I know there's things going on with the coaches and whatever, and good for them making more money. But bam, all of a sudden, here we are, 9 days before practice, and 3 of Billy Napier's coaches and maybe 4 are going to be gone. And I'm thinking, what is going on here? So I didn't try to, I can't explain it, but I did this. Tonight, I wore this to emphasize this word right here. That word right there. Where is the loyalty anymore in college football? Anywhere. To the fans, to the patrons, to each other, to the coaches, to the players. There's none, Ben. And as far as I'm concerned, and I didn't play at the level you did, every team I ever played for, it was all about the bond of loyalty. Ain't nobody got no loyalty to nobody anymore.
No, buddy, and it's been like that for a long time, unfortunately. I mean, the fans, most definitely. The fans are always loyal to the teams they root for because they bonded to those teams by either through going to the school, rooting for the school for a long time. When it comes to these coaches and college athletics, there's never going to be any loyalty, and it starts with the head coach. The head coaches are usually the ones who they come in with a great speech, and all of a sudden the pressures come or they get an opportunity that's somewhere else and they move it on. The situation going on in Florida right now with the 3 coaches leaving, it is unusual, but it's not like it's one of those things to where we ain't never seen it happen before. The University of Florida is one of the hardest places. While it gives you the most exposure, it also gives you the most scrutiny. I'm not mad at the coaches that's leaving. I mean, you get a chance to go to the National Football League, whether that's the Arizona Cardinals or the Denver Broncos. The timing is always going to be crazy. But just know this about college football. There's always somebody in waiting. And Coach Napier, they always know who's going to be the next hot shot coach, whether it's a D coordinator, receivers coach, tight ends coach, what may have you. Because the same way, buddy, that you lost 3 coaches to the National Football League, there are 3 coaches now to get the coach in Florida. And I know they're looking forward to it. I know we already got the D coordinator in. But it happens. It happens because people say, now look, I'm not blaming any of the coaches either. I didn't know that Patrick Toney was only like 32 years old. I didn't even know he was that young. That's a lot of pressure on
you know why you didn't know? Because for the last year, we ain't got to talk to nobody. They don't let us talk to the coaches.
Yeah.
And I've investigated this week. Are we ever going to get to talk to the coaches? Now, go on, I don't want to interrupt you. But we don't know this. As I said, I would like to say goodbye to Patrick Toney, but I never got to say hello. I don't know who he is.
Was the craziest part about that is I can understand trying to protect players. I can understand that because players, not all of them are media savvy. Not all of them know how to answer questions. They pay coaches to answer questions. You the defensive coordinator at Florida, you should be answering questions. All of them should be. Because that's a part of the job. And you're right, buddy. If Patrick Toney comes in and he establishes a rapport with the media, you in particular, he gets to tell his side of the story coming in and leaving. Because what happens is now we forced to create our own narrative, right? We didn't know what Patrick Toney's going and the tight end coach going to Arizona. Why? Well, it's an opportunity. But you could now the defense underperforming. Now those things come back up again. They're going to come back up. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I just know when it comes that word loyalty. Listen, husbands are loyal to wives. Parents are loyal to children. College athletics, it doesn't exist because you're always looking for a better opportunity. You're always looking for more money. You're always looking to put yourself in the best possible position. And it's way too many assistant coaches and D coordinators who want to be head coaches. A bunch of them want to be head coaches. And a guy like Kerry Colbert, listen, in my draft class of 2004, I just know, listen, let me say this. I'm not mad at any one of the coaches. The timing is always bad. I get that part. We're gonna feel those shoes because the thing about college coaches, they can coach any position. Coach D, the great coach Dwayne Dixon, who coached all the great wide receivers that came through Florida, coached me my senior year at tight end. And so I don't know if they're gonna move guys over or just get somebody from the outside, but yes, buddy, it is a head scratcher though, because I don't think that Denver just started looking at Kerry Colbert. They've been wanting him. I don't think that Arizona just started looking at the tight end coach of Patrick Toney. Go ahead and leave. The sooner you leave, the quicker we can get somebody in there. Because players have to get acclimated to new systems, new coaches, new regimes, new ways of doing things. And while these are the best players in the country and anybody can coach them, you do a player a disservice when he's built a rapport with that coach and now they're gone. This is going to be a total different scheme. What kind of defense are we going to run? And I'm always on the side of the players, but I am with you, buddy. The media is supposed to be the voice between the coaches, players, and the fans. We are the ones that get the narratives out, or we help you shape your own narrative. I'll never understand this. I don't want to talk to the media anymore stuff because outside of the obligated places you got to talk to, like SEC Network and Feinbaum or whomever, I don't get how they don't want to talk to the media anymore because, dude, we're not putting out negative stuff about you. We're just telling the truth. Like, as a grown man, you making millions of dollars, you should be able to handle the scrutiny. So I feel bad for the players. They already got a D coordinator in, but I'm like you, buddy. Things happen and everybody goes silent. Ain't nobody say anything. I mean, at the end of the day, if Coach Napier can't find a way to have a better rapport with the media, he's gonna have a long tenure here at Florida. I mean, and that's going to be on him, by the way. That's not on the media because all you can do is control it. Nick Saban doesn't like talking to the media. Guess what? Still does it.
Of course he does. And I talked to a guy up in Gainesville yesterday who was on the inside, and I said, why didn't Billy let his assistant coaches talk? Now, look, folks, I'm not going negative on Florida. I'm just saying it's like a family discussion here, right?
Of course.
That's why this is Orange Blue Blood Thursday. We can talk among ourselves about this stuff and be honest about it. But I asked, I said, well, I don't understand why. I know it can't be like the old days when I got to go out and have a beer with the offensive coordinator and get his game plan before the game. I'm not asking for that. I'm not asking for any of that stuff. But I just have to say there's this disconnect, Ben. And you've been able to overcome this because you played and you've also been in the media. And the fans don't know these people or know why they do things or who they are or anything else. They don't know them. And they don't come and tell us about it. How are we going to know? And how are we going to support them if we don't know them? And when things go bad or different, first thing you start looking for, what's the story on this guy? First thing I thought of, Patrick Toney, I didn't think he was that good of a coach so far anyway. Now, I know he's got credentials, but you start thinking, well, maybe he needs to go. You know what I'm saying? It goes negative in a hurry when you don't know the man.
Yeah, and that's fair, though, buddy. Because think about this. Let me tell you something. I don't care what you did somewhere else. I'm going to judge you by right here. It's a right here, right now business, right? Patrick Toney had a subpar year as a D coordinator. We was looking for him to build on that in 2023. You got a full year with your system. You got some guys coming back, and you leave. And I used to really, really think there was negative press. That people say, oh, don't talk to me. But once I realized, is it negative or is it journalism? Is it reporting? Because if I build a report with the media, that's the two things. One, you can look at me and say, listen, man, sometimes I'm going to say some things that are unflattering. But you can also come to me and say, hey, if I want to come to you because I want to get some stuff out, absolutely, come with me with the exclusives. That's what I want. And that's the part that I'll never understand, buddy, is, let me say this. Media is not the boogeyman. Y'all need to quit listening to this. Now, I get it. There's a gazillion people that cover these teams now. I get it. Everybody with a platform covers them. But, buddy, you said something that I want to push back on. You said, I know it can't be like the old days. Of course it can. Absolutely it can. And the difference is they got more time for you to listen. You can come to them. Hey, man, what day a week do you want to set aside for me to come talk? That it's easy. They make it hard because these coaches want to run everything.
Oh, yeah.
No, man, you run the team, you run Gainesville. You can't run the media. So I'm never going to be on the side of a coach that's not utilizing the media in the right way because guess what? When he's looking for some positive publicity, he's going to send out an olive branch. I guarantee it. If it gets bad. But
days coming. And I want to emphasize that we're very positive on Billy, and we think he's a good coach. I don't know if he's going to turn it around this year or not. I sure like to see what he can do. But I want to finish the thought I had about being in Gainesville and talking to a guy. And I said, how come they don't let us talk to the coaches? And he looked around like somebody was looking at him in the crowd. He said, Saban. Because that's how Nick Saban does it. Now, they all do it that way. They don't give you anything. They keep I just read, and I like Rick Hurtado and the people who do the job up there, and they've been fair to me. But when I read the list of things that I have to comply to go to spring practice, it's like all the things you can't do. I'm thinking, well, why am I going if I can't? Don't breathe, don't spit on the wind. There's a million things. And I get they want to control it and all that, but give us a little respect. Now, let me say this. It's not just the media, all right? What if I told you, did you ever meet Patrick Toney?
Nope.
Did I ever meet Patrick Toney?
Nope.
More importantly, did Steve Spurrier ever meet Patrick Toney?
Probably not.
Nope. Now, you can tell me that this young defensive coordinator is sitting there right in the building or next door to the building of one of the greatest football coaches of all time. Maybe Urban Meyer, I don't care. Right there. And he never shakes the hand of the legend? And he's gone? Well, am I crazy? What's wrong with that picture, man? I don't get it.
No, you're not crazy. It's like this. Look, there are unwritten rules when it comes to sports. There are things that are not written into your contract. No, there's nowhere in Patrick Toney contract that says, I got to pay homage to the greatest coach at Florida. But you should want to meet him. You should want to shake his hand. You should want to say, how you doing, coach? It's almost like I don't get that part. Like these coaches act like you got to ingratiate yourself to the community too. Coach Spurrier is in the building. He's probably upstairs somewhere. And once again, this gets back to, if you're the head coach of a school like Florida, you're the most famous coach in that state. You're the most famous coach in that state, regardless of Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, and Miami. What you supposed to, when you say I'm trying to set a culture, that's top to bottom, not just with the players and the coaches. That's just a part of the culture. No. You're supposed to set it for former players, media, because when you're doing that, right? You know how you get positive publicity, Billy Napier? This is how you get it. You let former players come in there, right? Then you tell the former players about Buddy Martin, right? The Buddy Martin has them on their show. Tell us about Billy, because people are going to listen when it comes to a former player. Problem is, you have every former player in there on the same day at the same time. They can't really talk to nobody for real.
No.
They get to see the facility and they go, no, man, it's almost like, what are we going to do? Do you think we don't have Florida's best interest in mind? Do you think we want to be able to push out negative narratives about it? But if Patrick Toney is the head coach, is the defensive coordinator in Florida, and no one gets to talk to him, what is that about?
Yeah.
And when you say, because Nick Saban don't do it, listen, this is why I couldn't be over media, because they'll kick me out of those rooms. Because I'll be like, Nick Saban, listen.
You be talking to him.
I mean, only because, buddy, I'm only asking. Sometimes it's good not having good media etiquette because you don't know what to ask. Or what to ask. I'll never understand. An hour out of a couple of hours out of your week, you got the whole court. You got to answer a couple of questions. Like I said, when I was with the Tennessee Titans, the one thing I had on my side was good media coverage because I always answered their questions. They criticized me when I didn't play well, but they also gave me a chance to plead my case when I had stuff going on. So I know that the media is a great freaking resource. And like I said, I'm gonna say it to the Billy Napier makes $7.1 million. 7.1. You can't talk to the media. I have a man, get out of here. I have a problem with that because that's a part of your job. And what's the point of having this incredible media room in this new facility when you handpick the people you want to talk to you because they scared to ask real questions?
Yeah, let's bring up on a guy who was in that media room a lot and who does ask a lot of questions and goes to every press conference, complies with all the rules, etc. And I'm going to change the subject just for a second, all right? Because I know we could talk about this for an hour and a half, and people say, we don't care, whatever. This incredible story broke this week that we are trying to deal with and understand. It doesn't make any sense, and it's one that, well, there it is right there. There's the On3 story on the NFL mock draft that came out, and projecting by this group of guys from CBS that the number one pick in the draft was going to be Anthony Richardson. Are you kidding me? Well, we'll talk about that and how that happened, and if that's even possible. Let's go get Franz Beard and see what he's got to say about it, all right? See our buddy Franz this evening, and hey, look, I'm as big an AR fan as anybody, right? I think I've said whoa. Okay, Francis got noisemakers going on there. What's up, Francis?
Another day in paradise, Bud Light and Benjamin. What's happening?
Chilling.
We have another discussion. I kind of changed subject right in the middle of Ben's passionate sermon, but you and I have covered that category about media and all the problems. Just real quickly, Ben, we'll let Franz weigh in on the news today of the three coaches and possibly four going to be going. And then I want to get to the subject of the incredible story about Anthony Richardson potentially being the number one pick in the National Football League draft. Am I reading that right? Franz, what did you think about those coaches leaving?
Colbert's the only one I think that's going to be missed. I think Colbert did a good job with our wide receivers last year. I thought they did he turned Justin Shorter into a legitimate deep threat, into a guy that would actually go fight for the football. And the knock on him had always been that if you threw it to him and he was open, he'd catch it, but he wouldn't fight for it in traffic. I thought he did a great job with Ricky Pearsall. And I thought we were seeing great progress with Xavier Henderson toward the end of the year. Pegler, I thought, did a rotten job with the tight ends. I thought we ran so much. When you're running 12 personnel, Georgia runs a lot of 12 personnel, but Georgia will use its 12 personnel in an offensive way. If all you're going to do is use your 12 personnel as having extra offensive tackles, then you're totally blowing it. And I think that they used their 12 personnel strictly as offensive tackles because I didn't think Pegler did a good job of getting these guys, teaching them how to separate. I got to tell you, you Ben, know better than anybody. You learned how to get separation. You came here and discovered that running a route you can run a route and then you can run a route and get open, is what I'm saying. Running a route, anybody can run a route. You take 10 steps here and you take 12 steps there, but how do you get open if you're doing it? And I don't think our tight ends had a clue on how to get open this year. And that's a sign of not good coaching.
All right, let's stop right there and ask the guy who played the profession at the highest level and see what he says about that remark. I don't think they had the tight ends in the game plan enough, in my opinion. Ben, which one of us is right, or either one of us wrong?
I think both of y'all are right. I think the thing about it is as much as we have athletic tight ends, yeah, but you got to show something during the week. I mean, to me, this was the best opportunity for the tight ends to establish themselves because you didn't have a true number one. I know we had Pearsall, and I agree with what Fran said about Colbert really showing Justin Shorter how to really go out there and fight for the football. Henderson showed some flashes here and there, but you didn't have an established number one receiver to go out there and really be the bell cow in the passing game. So I know people are going to go back to the Tennessee game and zip with the incredible run and catch. I mean, we're running after catch, but it is about getting open, like creating separation to the point where, as a coach say, when you get open, you make a decision for a quarterback very easy because you just beat your guy. You make a quarterback. Our job as receivers is to make a quarterback's job easy. But it was a lot of contested catches. I don't know how good these defensive backs were this year or these safeties and linebackers, but they was glued to us. And you got to find a way to separate. So I do agree with what Fran said. As far as you got to 12 personnel means they're trying to keep the best athletes on the field, but that was really to run the ball. As a tight end, I love too tight. Only if we're going to utilize us in the pass game as well as the run game. And until proven otherwise, those guys got to prove it. I kept telling people this. When you have guys like Kyle Pitts, that's a misnomer. That is not regular production. You're not going to replace something like that. So hopefully those guys will get it together.
Yeah. So I'm getting a beeping from somewhere from France, so I had to turn him down for a second. Yeah, you're standing by, and Lauren Meadows. We'll go to him in a second. And let me get back to the question of Anthony Richardson. And you all know, I mean, I've been as high on him as anybody. I said the whole time I thought he was going to be it could be a world-class football player and maybe be a first-round draft choice. And when I started saying that, people laughed at me. And not that I'm some kind of clairvoyant. I'm not. I don't mean that. But even I, as high as I am, could not believe the projection. It's just a projection about the potential deal, which CBS Sports wrote about, with the Colts winding up taking Anthony Richardson as the number one overall pick in the NFL draft. Is that even possible? I mean, my God.
Well, it's possible because what we saw was Jalen Hurts running for 70-something yards and throwing for 320. What we saw was Patrick Mahomes taking off on a bum ankle and running for 40 yards to set up the game winner, etc. like that. And here you have a guy, you got quarterbacks up there who, if they see an opening, they can get you 5 yards. Then you got a guy like Anthony Richardson who can see an opening and give you 55 yards. Now, who are you going to pick? The guy that gets 5 or the guy that gets you 55? And in this day and time in the National Football League, the better offenses have a quarterback that can get you the extra yards. Anthony can do that. I think that there's an awful lot of people that say it's kind of like with basketball, buddy, in that people say in basketball that, okay, these guys, once they go to the NBA, it's only basketball. There's no going to class. There's none of this, that, and the other. They're getting paid. That's their 8-hour-a-day job is basketball. And I think there's an awful lot of people who think the same thing about football, that once we get these guys to the National Football League, if they have even a shred of talent, it's now your job. It's now 8 hours a day. You come into the facility, 8 o'clock in the morning, and you leave at 6 o'clock at night. And but all you've done the whole day is football. And I think there's an awful lot of people that think that Anthony Richardson, if it's only football and they can work with him 24 hours a day, essentially, or 7 hours a day, however many hours a day it is, that they can iron out the things that you couldn't, you did. What is it, college? Ben, 20 hours a week now is the rule.
Hey, well, yeah, it's supposed to be 20 hours a week. Yes, that's what it's supposed to be.
Well, Shane Matthews told me that they're so strict on it in the XFL, they'll stop right in the middle of the play. You get to that legal limit, and that's it. You can't work them anymore. And Shane also said, and he said he'd never coached in college football again or ever because of the situation. But he made a comment. I want you both to comment. Ben, you first because you played the game. Then we'll bring Lauren in here and talk more about this Richardson thing and about these coaches. He said the reason they're in love with Richardson right now, and we've seen this ebb and flow, and now it's an all-time high, is his measurables. When you look at all those measurables, Ben, what were yours? Your 40 and your vertical.
I was 6'5", like 260. I was like a 4'6" something in the 40. I had like a 4'6" something in the 40. Right. But this thing though, this is the thing too, right? Okay, we talk about the number 1 overall pick, right? I get it. The person who has the biggest chance to not pan out is the number 1 overall pick because unless you just do what Patrick Mahomes is doing, they're gonna say, we didn't think he was who we thought he was. But let's think about Anthony Richardson. I'm looking at these quarterbacks, right? You got Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. That's it. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 9 quarterbacks. For me, those are your top quarterbacks. Those are your top quarterbacks. How many of these guys can run? Josh Allen can run, Jalen Hurts can run, Lamar Jackson can run, Dak Prescott can run, Kyler Murray can run, and Patrick Mahomes can run and improvise, right? None of those, outside of Lamar Jackson and maybe Jalen Hurts, they don't have what Anthony Richardson has. Lamar Jackson, he's not as big as Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson like 6'4", like 235, right? The thing about the reason why Anthony Richardson could go number 1, and Franz knows this, the one thing that will get you drafted quicker than anything else is potential and ceilings. You don't know how good Anthony Richardson can be. Because when you turn on the tape and he's running down the sideline against Texas A&M on the road, 70-something yards, running backs can't do that. I love, listen, on against South Carolina, Etienne had that long run. He got caught right at the goal line. When's the last time somebody caught Anthony Richardson from behind? It doesn't happen. So all I'm saying is you want a quarterback that can be an extension of the run game. They trying to ban the quarterback sneak because you can't stop Jalen Hurts. It'd be 4th and 3. He gonna stick his head down and just push the pile every single time. Obviously I'm biased when it comes to Anthony Richardson, but like Fran said, ain't no classes no more. You play football. You play football all day, every day. And obviously Bryce Young, because think about this for a second. If Bryce Young was at Florida and Anthony Richardson was at Alabama, and Anthony Richardson did what Bryce Young did in college, Anthony Richardson the number 1 overall pick, right? If Bryce Young was at Florida and he just played well, he wouldn't be considered number 1 overall pick. When you line them up together and they at the combine and they standing there with their shirts off, they just standing there in some boxer briefs, they're gonna be looking at Anthony Richardson like this dude is in the wrong room. Who the hell is this? Because quarterbacks look like quarterbacks. Yeah. You got guys named Stetson and Will. Right, Will Levis and them, Hendon Hooker. When Anthony Richardson goes in there and he takes his shirt off and he's standing there, those freaking GMs are gonna lose their mind because, unfortunately, Ben Harstock said the best that I played. When he says, when you 6'5", you got to prove. When you 5'10", 180 pounds, you got to prove you can play football. When you 6'5" or 6'4", 235, you got to prove you can. And the thing about Anthony Richardson is my son got a chance to meet Anthony Richardson a couple of years ago at the Manning camp. And I asked my son who stood out the most. He said Will Levis, Stetson Bennett, and Anthony Richardson. He said when Anthony Richardson threw the football, everybody just stopped and all. Like what? Like I said, man, I mean, I knew he had a shot to potentially be number 1.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta see it to believe it. But I mean, it's a lot of quarterbacks in this class this year. But I just think that Anthony Richardson, when he put his hand on the line and run,
right.
If it say anything in the 4-4s, I mean, we'll see. I don't see him making it out of the top 10 though. I don't see him making it out of the top 10.
Kelly Stouffer got to be the number 1 draft pick because he sat down, put his knee down at the 50-yard line, and from his knee, he threw a ball into the end zone, and then he went out and ran a 4.5 40, and everybody said, holy moly. Now, nobody paid attention to the fact that he'd never had a winning season, whether in high school or in college as a quarterback, but he had combine intangibles. And this is what Anthony's going to have. And then you throw in the fact that he's really a bright kid, too. He's a very, very bright kid, and he'll come across with the interviewers. You know, Ben, from getting interviewed, how important that interview is. You come across as arrogant, down goes your draft stock. Mm-hmm. You come across as a bright kid who's humble, your draft stock goes up. And guess what? Anthony Richardson's draft stock is going to go up because the kid is really, he's got a really dynamic personality. Right. But at the same time, it's not one that he flaunts as, like, look at me. It's like, well, thank you for saying such nice things.
Yeah, good story by Kyle Curtis about how he wanted to be a fireman when he was 14, just 6 years ago. By the way, he was the 6th pick overall. He was at Colorado State when I was there, and he had a lot of good-looking stuff. He didn't play much with Seattle, but he was 6. Let's bring in our partner over here. Well, I debuted my outfit and explained, as I've been saying all night, why I was going to bring this up, even to Lauren Meadows. And Lauren, I know they don't match, but here's the deal. This is about something besides just decorations. It's about loyalty, all right? This is my baseball team, and the word's out to say that Kyle Trask maybe start the season as number 1 quarterback for the Bucs. And I wore them tonight to show my loyalty because one of the things I said earlier, and this is a reach, I get it, but among the things wrong with college football today is the lack of this. And everywhere. And among those, and I said that because of the coaching changes at Gainesville, which I don't think are all bad, by the way, but because there is really no loyalty. Look, we've done this show together. How long, Ben? Year and a half.
It's been well over a year now.
Almost, and France, we've been doing this since eternity. Lauren, we just started, but we have a sort of a bond of loyalty to each other, don't we? That we do this. I mean, like if somebody offered you guys a lot of money tomorrow, or any money, I wouldn't blame you for taking it. But my point is, when you have a bond, you have loyalty, you care about more than just what's in it for me and just what money I'm making. And I think, although I know some people are still loyal, and I'll just stop talking after this, is that when it gets down to the end result of what somebody's going to do, aside from players who've been criticized a lot, the coaches now will take the deal. It's best for them. They're out of here. They're gone. Okay? Now, does that make them terrible people? No. But I don't know, Franz. I just couldn't see during the time Urban was there if Dan Mullen or Dazio got offers from Georgia or Mississippi, whatever, that they would go. And it's not just the money. So I'm just raising the question. We'll stop there and talk about among the things today. And it's a hot market for coaches, Lauren. You got out at the wrong time because they got their deal. I mean, when you can land in Tuscaloosa and your ink is not dry on your contract and in 2 weeks' time you've got another job like Armstrong has done in Florida, that's some crazy stuff right there. Go ahead and respond, Lauren.
Well, I think it's kind of twofold. Like you said, there is no loyalty now. And I think, I kind of call it a cause and effect. I was talking to actually Mike Jones and I were having a conversation. You had him on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that we talked about was the fact that because there's no loyalty really in anything, but the fact that now players can basically get up on you and leave and things like that. If you notice, the three coaches that left for Florida, they didn't leave for other teams in college
NFL.
football.
NFL.
But they left for the NFL. And what the NFL gives you is, yeah, you're dealing with spoiled millionaires, but you're dealing with 53 grown men who are on contract. You don't have to go out and recruit. You don't have to go out and give NIL or see who's slipping through the back door or those things like that. Essentially, you really get to coach football. And I think that's one of the things that's lost on all this today is that, the three gentlemen that are leaving for pro football where, the game is not necessarily pure, but there's no more recruiting or, anything like that. You don't necessarily get to pick the groceries, but you get to coach them the way you see fit. So I think that's, it's kind of a twofold. All of this cause and effect is, this is the new thing in college football and the new atmosphere with people being able to come and go and people being offered anywhere between $1 million to $13 million or $500,000 or whatever. And you got so many different hands in the cookie jar. I think some of these guys, like a Patrick Toney says, man, you're going to pay me this. And all I got to do is coach football and do my thing. And I don't think he's going to be the defensive coordinator because I think that.
Yeah, I get it. It's a career advancement. I understand that. For career advancement.
Right.
But I want to just go ahead. Finish your point.
But I will say, here's where I think it gets muddied is, spring football starts in 8 days?
Yes. 9
and
days.
I think that's where some of the stuff, that's where it gets a little fishy. We can argue all day whether it's an upgrade or not. Like I said, I'm not sure. I thought, Pegler, I'll speak on him, I think was added to the roster maybe from a recruiting standpoint. If you look at Pegler, I'm not sure what he could really teach tight ends. I don't know, but I know all coaches come in all shapes and sizes, but I just think right now it's a better situation. I think you're going to see more and more college guys, particularly when they can go and be assistants at the pro level. I think that's what you're going to see.
All right. So one by one, I'd like you all to sort of break down the 3 losses, and Francis says it's going to be a 4th, and see how big of a plus minus. Could it be a good thing? We don't know anything about these people, especially Armstrong, who was 29 last year, the youngest defensive coordinator in college football. Now he's suddenly the although it hasn't been officially announced, we all know he's going to be the defensive coordinator. Let's take the plus minus being on the 3 guys and possibly 4 are going, and where you think that leaves Billy Napier, and how much do you trust this new defensive coordinator without knowing a thing about him?
I think it could definitely be a plus losing a guy like Toney, only because I think you don't really know what you had in him. I got to give a defensive coordinator more. I'm saying I wish him the best, but nothing about last year made you feel good about 2023. Nothing about last year made you do that. Anybody on the Alabama staff is probably going to be an upgrade no matter where school they go to. You can say a lot about Nick Saban, but he knows how to pick coaches, and they got to be able to recruit. Tight end coach, man, it's such a head scratcher. I don't usually you're supposed to supersede expectations to get an opportunity in the pros. I didn't see that. Now Colbert, that's reminders. That's gonna hurt, man, because Colbert is a good coach. Like for what Franz was saying earlier, Justin Shorter from the start of the season to the end, Pearsall from the start of the season to the end. He's gonna, because that's a guy that played the position, knows the position. So I would go, minus with Colbert, maybe 2 pluses as far as like who guys you can bring in, because I don't really know if it's an upgrade or not in the tight end coach position. The D coordinator, who's the inside linebackers coach at Alabama, now he's coming over to be the D coordinator here. Yeah. But I think the biggest thing is this: you take these players for granted, man, when you do them like this. Because some of these coaches really, really, really become good people to these players, and then they're gone. And I'm not mad at them. Everybody, listen, I want every assistant coach to want to be a head coach. And if I get to go from college to pro, I get it. But timing is everything. I'm just saying. And it's just one of those things when it comes to these players, they always gonna get the short end of the stick because they always the last to know. They hearing about the news the same time we hearing about it, and I just don't think. It should. When Lincoln Riley became the head coach of Oklahoma, right? They knew that Bob Stoops was leaving. They let him go out there and recruit, get all the recruits in, and then when they got him, hey, Bob Stoops leaving. He's gonna be a consultant. I just think that. So when you talk about loyalty, buddy,
it's two-way. I know
the loyalty should go to the freaking product on the field.
Yeah, and the fans and the players. I get it.
But at the same time, though, look, I wish him the best. I hope the D coordinator coming over from Alabama is going to be good.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to wait and see when it comes to the receivers coach.
We all wish him the best. But I'm just going to play devil's advocate with Franz just a second here. We know how you feel about already. You stated about your position on Pigler and what have you. But I go back to Billy Gonzalez, okay? I didn't know Billy Gonzalez. I've talked to him, interviewed him a few times, but never knew him. I know what he did 2 years ago when he took 4 veteran players, gave them all equal playing time for the most part. They all had some impressive seasons, and they all went to the league, okay? Every one of them, and they all played. What bothers me about, maybe it's just me, we've discussed this on the show a number of times, is that the guy coaching the wide receivers now and who developed Pearsall, he could never get Trent Whittemore on the field. Okay? Now, I'm telling you, it sticks in my craw because I go back to Brian Johnson, who now is with the Eagles, who gave all 3 quarterbacks equal number of reps with one. All right? But they can't get Whittemore. If he gets on the field and can't do it, fine. Whittemore didn't say this. He never said a word about it. I'm just wondering why. So there's one thing I wondered about. If he's that great, why couldn't he do it? Fine. That's my one thing. Francis, all yours go.
Well, here's the thing I think about Tony. I agree with Ben. I don't think Tony inspired a lot of confidence that things were going to change. Now, here's what I like about Armstrong. Southern Miss went from 23 sacks his first year when they had no talent to he taking a bunch of young guys, and they went from 23 to 44 sacks. And what did the Gators have last year in sacks? The Gators, just a second, guys.
Francis has got all kind of noise machines. If you want to rent one or borrow it, you got all kinds of them.
It's my stepfather calling from the VA hospital.
Go ahead and take it if you need to. Go ahead and take it.
I'll call him back.
No, it's okay.
But they went from 23 to 44 sacks. How many sacks did the Gators have last year? 23. One of the biggest issues with the defense was we never got pressure on the quarterback. Brenton Cox Jr. came in here. He said, I'm going to average a sack a game. Well, guess what? He didn't even average a sack every 2 games. And he finally got dismissed from the team for attitude. We got to have a guy that can get pressure. He's going to be the defensive coordinator. He's a linebacker. I
agree with that. 100% on that.
Which means that one of the linebackers coaches has got to go. It's not going to be Mike Peterson. I guarantee you that. So that means that Jay Bateman is the guy that looks like the odd man out, and probably not a bad choice to be the odd man out because he didn't recruit worth a damn. Okay? Did not. Colbert, I thought did a terrific job, and my thing, everything that I've heard about why Trent Whittemore couldn't get on the field was he could not get open in practice. And if you couldn't get open in practice against our defensive backs, then chances are you weren't going to get open against really good defensive backs from other teams either. And that's just what I'm hearing. I don't know that it's true. I wasn't there at practice. Yeah. I didn't see it. Yeah. I think Colbert will be missed. Plus, he was a good recruiter. I think Michael Burton bringing that up. I think that he was a good recruiter. Pigler did not recruit anybody. That we didn't sign we did not get a tight end this year. They're going to have to move a tight end from a defensive end. Savanella is going to move there. and they got Tony Livingston, who's an offensive tackle who they've tried to slim him down to because he's a terrific basketball player and he's got great footwork. But the tight end position, Georgia's got Brock Bowers. All I got to tell you is Brock Bowers will be next year the best football player in college football.
It might have been last year.
You could have Caleb Williams until all day long. If you give me a choice between the two of them, I'll take Brock Bowers because Brock Bowers turned Stetson Bennett into a championship quarterback.
Good point.
Yeah.
All right.
So Tony, I don't think inspired anybody. Pigler didn't inspire anybody. Colbert does. So I think they're going to add a safeties coach, and that's what I think.
And they could use one, by the way, which was one of the weakest parts of the defense. All right, guys, we got just a couple of seconds here. I'm going to let you go out on this question, and we'll start with Lauren and go around the horn. And if you were, let's say, in terms of buying stock on the Florida Gators, let's just put out a number saying you were a 7.5 on it, the Gators, 48 hours ago. Let's give everybody, say we were all about 7.5 out of 10 on Gators, okay? After today's and after the coaching changes, where are you now on these Florida Gators? Just if you haven't to give it a rating, just like you would a stock. Lauren, if you were 7.5 48 hours ago in Florida, where are you now?
5.
Did you say 5?
Yes, sir.
Wow, that's a big drop. Why?
You and I talked about it. I'm really not. I'm bearish on the on what's going on right now. I just don't see it. I look at things. I really thought that there would be some gains in the transfer portal, and there have been in some ways, but nothing earth shattering. Like I said, I think we're still deficient at some positions that are of high need. Like I said, plug and play safety, another plug and play receiver, and even possibly an defensive lineman. So I just think there's some holes there. And
but have the coaching situation changed? Did you change your mind that much?
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that
like I said,
you put in a new system.
Yeah.
I know that's what.
You don't have to explain. I just want to be clear on it. So no, France.
Yes, sir.
If you were 7.5, where are you now?
Same place.
7.5.
Same place. Yeah, I don't think that the changes. The only 2 of the 3, I think, are probably a wash. Okay, Colbert, you're going to have to struggle to find this late in the year a wide receivers coach. Yeah, I know. We got one right here.
Hey, Lauren, in the words of Coach Spurrier, you're cheap and available, right? You're cheap and available.
I think they're going to have a hard time unless they can get somebody, and this may be the ace in the hole, is you can get somebody who is a former NFL coach, because there's a lot of NFL coaches who like coming back to college because, coaches last longer typically in college than they do in the NFL. The NFL is totally a business.
All right, so I'm gonna pass it off to Ben and let it finish. I'm gonna just tell you I'm at a 6 right now, and the reason is because of when it happened so late. Already be having the holes to plug and problems, unknowns, quarterbacks, deep, a lot too many unknowns. If I was a 7.5, I might be a 6.5, but it's definitely changed for me. Ben, take us out with your comment.
Yeah, I'll go down to like a 7. I don't think we're going to miss Patrick Toney, the tight end coach, as much as we may think. But chemistry is real, and the best possible way to have successful players is to have a winning culture. Like, they're building a culture, and it's hard to adjust to new coaches. That's what people don't get. Coaches, they are totally different. Like, Zook don't coach like Spurrier. Spurrier don't coach like McElwain. They don't coach the same players, different schemes. So, and the side of the football that did not need no changes was the defense. You finna run a whole new defense now. It's one thing if you tight ends just got. You're gonna still run the same scheme. You just got to coach the tight ends and the receivers. They finna run a total different defense. So guys like Big Dez, who's losing all this weight to play a certain position, he might not even be in that position now, depending on what they running. So I still say a 7 because I do think because it's the spring and not fall camp, guys got a shot to kind of see what's going to go on. But like I said, I just know when it comes to grown men making decisions, you been knew you were going to get these coaches, man. Like, you been new. Denver ain't just reached out, or whomever, they ain't just reached out to these coaches. And I'm not mad at them. I'm just mad at the timing. So I'll take it down to a 7. I still want to see what the defense going to look like because I think it's great what he did at Southern Miss, but now you got to do it in Florida when, hey, man, that production's going to have to go up. I mean, have to. So Princely and those guys, Big Dad's going to be asked to do more than just move guys or create a different line of scrimmage. He got to get to the quarterback. So, but I'll go 7, though, because like I said.
So what's that average out to? Fan, you're the mathematicians. I was a 6.5. Lauren was a 5.
So I'm 19. That's 26. So
divided by 4.
We're at an average of 26.5. We're at an average of 6.5.
So it's dropped from 6.5 to 5, from 7.5 to 6. Okay, good stuff, guys.
Let me throw in one thing just real quick to go. Austin Armstrong is a devotee of the creeper defense. The defense isn't changing. It's going to be the same creeper defense. It's just going to be a guy that they think is a better guy calling it.
Needs to creep up a little faster on the blitz. That's what I got to say. Okay, guys, good job tonight. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend. We'll talk at you next week on Orange and Blue Blood Thursday with Lauren, Ben, Franz. Guys, thanks a lot. All right, have a good night. All right, folks, we'll say goodnight to our cast here and tell you about our friends at don't forget Titan MRI. If you're going to go get a Titan, get a CAT scan or whatever, check them out in Gainesville. It's a short drive, and I can guarantee you I've had the Titan, the scans and stuff here, and they're not nearly as cheap and as good as they are at Titan MRI. All right, so, well, this is about Renstar Medical Research, one of our fine sponsors. They have a high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility here in Ocala where they're constantly doing research. Renstar has cutting-edge clinical trials, and they do it for all kinds of diseases, including Alzheimer's and psoriasis and osteoarthritis. Things like that are common to our community. They're trying to find a better way to take care of us, and they've been doing this since 1998. Over 700 clinical trials in Renstar. The folks at Renstar care about you, care about us, and support our program. We love that they do that. So check them out. Go to their website, renstar.net. Tell them if you're interested in being a part of one of the clinical research. In some cases, compensation for time and travel will be made. And check them out, renstar.net. Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thanks to our guest hosts every week we have on this show. That's what I call them, not guests. Those guys are good, and I'm honored to be on the show with them. Hope you had a good night. Hope you have a great weekend. We got some catching up to do on work and rest, and we'll catch you on Monday right back here on the same station at the same time on the Buddy Martin Show, heard 4 times weekly right here on this program. Thanks and good night.